Hey guys, Bellamy here from Midnight Suns, and this is my review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Alright, let's first talk about the story. If you are a fan of Rocket Raccoon, you are most likely gonna love this movie because the core focus of the plot basically revolves around his entire backstory. And the story in this movie really focuses a lot on family, friendship, and love. And I know the previous Guardians movies were kind of like that too, but this movie, they really step it up to a whole new level. Like, there's way more focus on those three themes in this movie than there have been in any of the previous Guardians movies, or even any of the previous Marvel movies in general. And let me just say, I think this is by far the saddest Marvel movie ever. The story is really, really tragic. I'm not gonna spoil anything for you, but just be prepared for that. Just go in expecting a very sad story, you know? Like, I think if you're an animal lover, you are almost definitely going to cry in this movie. So yeah, if you are someone who cannot stand animal cruelty, then maybe you might not want to watch this movie, because there are scenes in this movie that will really disturb you, to say the least. The performance from the main cast are all great. I mean, usually in all the Guardians movies so far, they have been pretty great. But this movie, they really get to step it up once again, like I said earlier, to the next level. Because in this movie, there's a lot more depth to their characters because of the tragic nature of the story. So all the main cast got the chance to put on much more serious performances in this movie compared to any of the previous MCU movies that they've been in. And I think they've been in 7 MCU movies at this point, the Guardians that is. They've been in 7 different MCU movies. And this movie is really by far the one where each and every character in the Guardians gets to show the most depth. But that being said, they are still really funny in this movie, so it's not just all doom and gloom. Like, there is still a lot of humor in this movie, so there will still be some laughs to be had. And one of the biggest standouts in this movie is Karen Gillan as Nebula. Like, her performance in this movie was really great because she's finally really part of the Guardians now. She's promoted to a full-fledged member of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and she got to do way more in this movie than she ever got to do in all of the previous movies combined. And of course, Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, and Dave Bautista are all once again fantastic in their roles. And I would say Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel did an amazing job with their voice acting in this movie, so they got to show way more range in this movie than they got in any of the previous movies. Yes, even Groot. So this is not a spoiler, but they've been basically advertising this movie as like the end of the Guardians of the Galaxy as we know them. And honestly, after watching this movie, I think all of the characters actually got to kind of complete their character arcs that began in the first movie. And over the course of 7 movies, you really get to see how each character has grown. And I think that was really good. I really think this movie was a great send-off for all of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And the supporting cast in this movie is great too. Some of them actually got to complete their character arcs as well. Like Sean Gunn, who is the director James Gunn's brother, he plays Kraglin. And in this movie, you really get to see his character grow and become what he should be. And I won't say much more than that because I don't want to spoil his character arc. I will also say that the MVP of the whole movie is easily Cosmo the dog. And when you watch the movie, you'll understand why. But my one main complaint is that unfortunately, Adam Warlock, who is this very hugely popular Marvel character from the comics, he's basically a joke character in this movie. And I'm not very happy with what they did with his character because I feel like there's so much more he could have done. So if you're a massive Adam Warlock fan, I think you are gonna be very disappointed with this movie. But apart from that, I think the characterization of all the supporting cast otherwise was actually really well done. Visually speaking, I think this movie looks amazing. Like, there wasn't any bad CGI that I noticed at all that took me out of the movie. There was nothing like that. And the whole movie from start to end, it was pretty much a visual effects fest. So it helps that the visual effects look really good in this movie. And there are a ton of action scenes in this movie, and all the action set pieces all look great. There was great direction, great action choreography, great visual effects in those action scenes, and just good stuff all around. And this movie really feels more grounded than the previous Guardians movies. And they have a lot of practical sets in the movie, and I'm not gonna spoil what kind of practical sets, but let's just say the practical sets when you watch the movie you understand, but the practical sets in this movie, in certain scenes in particular, really help make the whole movie feel a lot more grounded to earth. And of course, when it comes to sound, as it is always the case, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are always filled with great retro music, and in this movie, it does not disappoint. There's music from like the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even 2000s. So there's pretty much music for people of all ages in this movie. I think everybody who walks into this movie, assuming they are not born in the 2010s, but if they are born before the 2010s, I think every single person who walks into that cinema will recognize at least one song from the movie. And all the sound effects in this movie all sound amazing. There are laser blasters, laser swords, all sorts of futuristic weaponry, and they all just sound great. And there are a lot of otherworldly creatures in this movie. There are like monsters and some very cute creatures, and they all just sound exactly how they need to sound. Like the monsters really sound grotesque, and the cute creatures sound really cute. The whole audio department just did a fantastic job with this movie. And now it's time for the final verdict. I am giving Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 a great 8 out of 10. I think it was a great end to the trilogy of Guardians of the Galaxy movies that we got, and it was really a great send-off for all the characters that we've grown to know and love. And I would just say this movie was really very heartbreaking a lot of the time. Like, it was really much more sad and tragic than it was funny. And don't get me wrong, there are still funny moments in this movie, but if you are planning to go into the cinema and just watch a light-hearted, fun movie like the previous two Guardians movies, this is not that kind of movie. This movie is really, really tragic. So go in there expecting to cry, because you most likely probably were cry. If you are just planning on watching a movie to cheer you up and have a few good laughs, this is not that movie, trust me. This movie will make you feel really sad. And not in a bad way, because I really think this is a great movie, just that it is not something that you will want to watch to cheer yourself up. So get the tissues ready, because you are going to be crying a lot more than you are laughing when you watch this movie. And I think this is not a very kid-friendly movie either. Like, I can already recall one specific instance where a big F-bomb was dropped. So yes, there is some pretty vulgar language in this movie. And there are also a lot of sexual jokes that I don't recall being so obvious in the previous Guardians movies, but in this movie, there are really some very, very obvious sexual jokes. I think maybe James Gunn has been spending so much time with Suicide Squad and Peacemaker over at DC Studios, and a lot of that adult humor has kind of rubbed off on this new Guardians of the Galaxy movie. But I think if you like that kind of thing, then you might see it as a good thing. And I think this is by far the best MCU movie that we've gotten since Spider-Man No Way Home. If the rest of Phase 5 is like this, then I think the MCU is in very good shape. Oh, and I also wanted to show you guys I got this cool coin for watching the movie on opening night. It's the Guardians of the Galaxy logo. Very cool. Anyway, that's all for this review, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching it. As always, if you haven't subscribed already, please do consider subscribing. We are just a small channel, so every little subscription would really help us a lot. Anyway, thanks again for watching, guys, and as always, stay gold. Bye, guys.